Hello all, welcome back to the next one. In this one we will see how do we create our testNG class. We'll create multiple testNG test methods inside it, and we'll talk a little bit about method run ordering. And we will see these method run ordering later in more detail, but we'll just take a quick look. So let's get started with opening Eclipse. This is the package that we have for test classes. Let me create one more package, and I'm gonna say it as maybe app code. We will not be using it much, but I'm just gonna create a class which is under test. Usually when we are writing test cases, we are testing some class. If we are using Selenium WebDriver for web automation, then we do not have any class under test. We just write test cases for our web pages. So in that case, there is no class under test. But for any other testing, like API testing or backend unit test cases, for those kind of testing, we always have a class which we test using our testNG test cases. So I'm just gonna make a quick class which is not really significant, but just to have an example. So let's create a class here, and I'm gonna say it may be some class to test, and click finish. And inside it, maybe we can create the simplest method like public, and it made it an integer and some numbers. So maybe it can add couple of numbers, so int a and int b. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna take two integers and it's gonna return the sum of a plus b. That's about it. We are not paying attention to writing Java code here, so it's the easiest class. And after that, we're gonna create our first testNG class. So right click, go to new, click other, and you'll see an option for testNG class. If you don't see, type it up here. So testNG class, click next, and package name, and we're gonna give the name to our class as maybe test annotation. So this is the first thing we're gonna see today. So test annotation, and we will not select anything from here right now. So just click finish, and as soon as we do that, it imports a package for us, test annotation, and it creates a class, and it creates a method public void. The name is f, we can change it, and there is an annotation called @test. So what is this test annotation? This test annotation is something when we add this to any method, it tells testNG that it is a testNG annotation, and by that it is a testNG test case. And by this only, testNG realizes that this is a testNG test case or test method, and it runs that test method. So this annotation is really very important. So what I'm gonna do right now here is I'm gonna format a little bit. So Control A or Command A, and then Command Shift and F on Mac, and Control Shift and F on Windows. So the code looks better, little bit formatted, and you can then save it. I'm gonna change the method name to test method 1, and let's do nothing but print out something. So syso, syso, and then control space. It's gonna give us all the options. So print this sys out. So hit enter. It's gonna give us system.out.println. In double quotes, I'm gonna say running test, and the name of the test is test method 1. So basically there's gonna be some test code here, and we are currently not using this some class to test. We will maybe use it later, or we can use it right now also, but there is this thing going on. And we can have more than one test method inside a testNG class. So this is a testNG class, and inside it we can have any number of test methods as we want. So I can just copy this. I can say this is test method 2. Obviously the names cannot be same, so I have to rename everything. So test method 2, test method 3, and update the print statement also. and save the file. We can actually create an object for some class to test, but we'll have to first import it because it is inside another package. So what we can do here is import app code dot star will do everything, but dot some class to test is good enough. And here some control space some class to test. We can say object obj equals to new some class to test. This makes the object of the class. So usually this is how we test a class in testNG. So if this is the class to test, we need to create an object for this class. And after creating objects, we can access method that we want to test. So I can say obj dot some numbers, and this is gonna give me the numbers. Now here I can provide maybe 1 and 2. So this will give me some result, right? And we need to save this result. And the result, the return type of this method is int. So definitely we want a variable of type int. And I can say result equals to obj some numbers. Now I have this int result. I can actually compare it and check if the method is working fine, if it's returning the correct result or not. So basically this is gonna give us a result, and we want to verify that this actual result is expected or not. So we have an expectation when we write test cases, and if the actual output matches our expectation, then the test case is successful. If not, then the test case is not successful. So that's the most important thing in testing automation, right? Currently we are not doing anything, so let's just keep it like that. Later we can verify those things when we learn about asserts. But for now, this is our testNG class with 3 methods inside it. And please pay attention to the import statement. It has to be testng.annotations.test, because sometimes by mistake people import the JUnit ones, and which is a completely different thing. So right now I'm gonna run it. So right click anywhere on the file, go to run as testng test. Since we have the plugin and we have the jar files, it will figure out and it will give you these options. So do this, and we say this on the console. So it says running test method 1, 2 and 2, because I think we didn't change the last one name. So 3. Let me just quickly run it so we have correct output. So test method 1, 2 and 3 were run. It says all the 3 methods were successful because there's nothing wrong in them. And it says 3 methods were run, there are 0 failures and 0 skips. And you can go to result of running testng, and here you can see that default suite is run, and test classes was the package, dot test annotation is the class name. And there are 3 methods, test method 1, 2 and 3, and they all ran successfully. Now we want to know how does it decide which method to run first and which is to run second, right? So currently it's running test method 1, 2 and 3, but it's not running in the order they are written. So I can actually type it at the end and save the file and right click and run it. And still it runs test method 1 the first time, and then test method 2, then test method 3. So the default run order of testng is by the test method name. It goes by natural order alphabetically. So the names are pretty same. It has 1, so it executes first. It has 2, it executes second. It has 3, it executes third. If the name of this guy starts with A appears alphabetically before T, so I assume that this method should run before test method 1, and we can just right click and verify this thing. And now you can see it ran test method 2 before test method 1. So the default ordering is by alphabetic order, but we will see how we can handle it and control the run order in future lectures. So that's about it for this one. Thanks a lot for running this one, guys, and I'll see you in the next lectures. Please practice, please download the files or write the similar code and practice on your own. Thanks a lot.